On this morning, we are joined by the police chief of the city of Oxford, Jeff McCutchen. The Mississippi Association of Chiefs of Police annual conference is going on right now, so he's hanging out with all the rest of his colleagues across the state of Mississippi. I was thinking about this, Jeff, before we began this conversation. I appreciate your time this morning. When you have people that are either in elected office or are in very public positions of leadership, sometimes our expectations are out of line. Like, they don't get to be a real person also. Do you ever get to be like just a real guy, dad, husband, friend, hang out when you're sitting in that role as police chief?
Think you can, but you also have to understand what you represent. But I think what you'll find in the best of our profession are guys that and ladies that just wear one hat. They are who they are wherever they go. But if you're trying to be a great representative in law enforcement, then hopefully you're doing the same thing as a husband and a father.
That's a good answer on that. I would expect a good answer, but that makes a lot of sense. What's going on at the Chiefs of Police convention? When you and your colleagues from all across the state of Mississippi gather, what are the big topics that the convention itself is addressing? But then what are the side conversations that you're having with others across the state?
Yeah, it's a great event every summer. They host it here in Biloxi, and you get to be a part of about 300, a little over 300 people that'll come in together, and you're talking about all the issues, right? So we're getting updates from federal cases, we're getting state updates. Well, the AGs and the DPS will be here later this week, and so you're learning about things that are happening within the state that'll impact us locally. But then, obviously the side conversations are what's impacting you at your agency. Is it recruiting? Is it retention? Is there concerns over the retirement? Is there the issues that we're going to talk about this morning with hemp and how that's affecting all of us from state line to the coast?
I am curious when you talk about colleagues, right? I mean, all the cities, towns, municipalities across the state are unique in their own way, but Starkville and Hattiesburg certainly have something in common with Oxford, and that is that there's a major university. How much different is your job than, say, if you were the chief of police in Gulfport or in Tupelo or South Haven than being in a college town?
Yeah, I think each community has its own things that it deals with. So in a college town, you ingest 24 to 30,000 students every August, and that comes with a heavy burden because those parents those children off in August, and it's your responsibility to take care of them. It's your responsibility to look after them. And for me, you're bringing in 4 to 6,000, maybe even 8,000 freshmen it's their first time away from home, and trying educate them on the things that they can and can't do, but also protect them and also have a good conversation with their parents because sometimes they are 6, 8, 10 hours away. It does happen. It, it's
Jeff McCutchen is the police chief in the city of Oxford. He's at the state convention for police chiefs in Biloxi. And you mentioned something a second ago. It's something that we talked about with you back during the legislative session, and that's hemp. We know that the state legalized medical marijuana years ago. We've got the dispensaries. That is a highly regulated industry. But this hemp conversation is one that seems to not be going away. It's products that are available in gas stations or available in grocery stores. You and the association were pretty vocal in your opposition to this in terms of there needing to be more regulation, more ways to police this. Where is that conversation right now?
I think what we saw from the Attorney General in her latest opinion really defines what we have been discussing. And Senator Sparks has brought this up for the last 2 years. And the law is very plain in what it says. And it basically says if there is a product that is derived from the hemp plant, then it either has to be regulated through the Medical Cannabis Act or it has to have an FDA approval. And there's been this discussion for a couple of years of this point oh 0.03 variance that you have to breach this threshold. And it is very confusing. And so it was confusing to law enforcement, it was confusing to businesses, it was confusing to and it was a loophole that these products were trying to get into our gas stations, our vape stores, or other places. And so, again, Daniel Sparks has been pushing this, and the AG gave an opinion. And it's simply this: it doesn't matter the variance. If it's derived from that plant, it has to meet those two requirements. Other than that, it's illegal to possess and sell with intent. So she was very clear in what she said, which cleared up a lot for us, and it gets the right to now go in and address those issues.
It's. I feel like historically people have lost some context in where this came from, and it goes back to the 2020 Farm Bill, right? I mean, this was the FDA approval on hemp products was something that was in the 2020 Farm Bill, and even though it was there, it was not something that maybe was as known as it should have been or as enforceable as it should have been. I guess. I don't know what the question is there. Maybe that's just kind of a point of reference. But I'm so curious about enforcement. You have limited manpower. All of your colleagues have limited manpower. There are a lot of things that are probably, I'm making an assumption here, higher on the list of priorities for local police departments than going into gas stations and figuring out whether there's an FDA stamp of approval on a hemp product. So how do you enforce this? How do you and other police departments tackle this? Where is it on the priority list?
Richard, it's high because, we are blessed in Oxford that we have a code enforcement team that can go out and address these quickly. I think many of your businesses want to do the right thing, that they've been misled in some of these conversations, but it has to be high because of the adverse reactions that we're seeing from juveniles all the way to people our age. We're seeing overdoses. We're seeing individuals that are having to have ambulance transport them to the hospital because they're becoming incapacitated. We've seen overdoses. It is very scary what these products can do. And again, it goes back to there's no regulation. At least in the Medical Cannabis Act, there's strict requirements on how often you can get it, how much you can get, and these really blur the lines of a recreational use. And again, how many can you buy in a day? How often can you buy this? And what we've seen, what these products have caused law enforcement to do across the state, we've had to go out and buy these and have them tested in private labs. And what we're finding is the range is all over the place, from way over point oh 0.03 to under. And so even a consumer walking in has no idea what they're getting their hands on.
But that's not going to matter if there's not an FDA stamp, regardless of what the label says the concentration of THC in a hemp product is. They're coming off the shelves.
That's right. And I think again you'll see some language come out soon that'll address this statewide because we all have to be on the same page and we want to do it right. But the AG her opinion was very direct, and it has to meet those two requirements.
Okay. Um, what percentage, and not an exact number, but a ballpark number, if you go into a gas station and there are, I don't know, 20 different hemp product lines that are available, what percentage of those are approved by the FDA?
I have not seen a single one that had an FDA approval. Just
Okay.
doing a little bit of research, there's very, very few on the market that the FDA has approved. So the fact that these are out, and again, you mentioned you go into a gas station, you can see them just lined up on a wall. Those are probably not going to have an FDA approval. So you have to assume 95% of the products that are in all of these shops are going to be illegal. And again, the FDA is not putting these stamps of approvals on these products that are coming in untested from foreign countries that there's no way to regulate them.
Only 20 seconds left. Do you anticipate enforcement of this beginning before the end of the summer?
I do, yes, sir.
All right. So that's coming up on the horizon. Jeff McCutchen, Chief of Police in Oxford, update from the Chiefs Convention. Thanks so much for your time. Always enjoy the visits.
Yes, sir. Thank you.